Welcome to this special edition to Go Vote Omaha, a candidate forum for Omaha City Council District 2, Part 2, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. Because of the number of candidates in District 2, we have added a second show. I'm Candide Villard, Administrator for the League, your host for today's program. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha primarily focuses on policy issues, and as a result of our discussions, we hope you will feel ready to make an informed decision during election time. Continuing with us are Omaha City Council District 2 candidates, JonathanC. Lathan, Cornelius F. Williams, Ben Gray, Stephen Abraham, and David Mitchell. Juanita Johnson was unable to join us. We will now continue with the question, number 3. How would you work to involve more of the community in the process of governing the city? And we'll begin with Stephen.
Yeah, thank you. This is very important, because the voice of the citizens represent what we do. So one of the things I would do is I would look at the times that the city council meetings are held. And, if they can be adjusted, I'm a proponent to doing so. We live in the age of social media. So right now we use Zoom for a lot of our communications. So I would look at Zoom calls, making it more accessible for the residents. But I also would go about it in an old-fashioned type of manner, which is working directly with neighborhood associations and bringing the city council meetings or myself to those neighborhoods or to those communities within the district. You know, during those times, a lot of the residents find it easier for them to bring their family, bring their children, to be more involved and be, voice their concerns to the city council member. And as a voice for the voiceless amongst policymakers, I will always try to make it easier for our constituents to be heard.
We will now be moving on to David.
I would want to get people involved in city council and in city hall in general. It's just being active on social media, letting people know what's going on, making sure people know and understand the agenda items beforehand. As of right now, the agenda is not really put forth on the city council website too far in advance. I would like it to be pushed to at least maybe within a week in advance so people can know when they will have to schedule their day off of work so they can be able to show up and attend or be able to show up to a Zoom meeting and be active in that city council meeting.
Thank you. We will now be moving on to Jonathan.
One way to keep the community involved in politics and what's going on in the city would definitely be to work on changing the times of the city council meetings. I think a more appropriate time would be sometime later in the evening, once individuals were able to get off work and they were able to actually participate fully in the civic functions of the city. 2 o'clock in the afternoon just doesn't work for everyone. We have people that have children in school. We have people that are working those 9-to-5 jobs, and they're not able to get their input known when we have these going on. With the COVID going on right now, we have been allowed access to Zoom into the city council meetings. So if you get with the city clerk and they can put you on the agenda. I think that that's one of the biggest tools we have right now to help combat what we have going on with COVID, staying safe, and also being able to be involved in the city functions. So we can get the Zoom meetings and the Zoom links out to the community. I think that would be one big thing. And then once we're all COVID safe and once we're better able to go out, I do think the town halls and actually going out and meeting the community would be the next best option besides that. We can't be the voice of the community if we're not out there on the ground hearing what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. We will be moving on to Cornelius.
Oh, what I believe is that one of the things you have to do is you have to go meet the community. That's very, very important. And that's one reason why I want to have an office in the community, so that people can come to my office and see and talk to me. The other thing is that they've been talking about the city council meeting. Moving it to the evening would be a great idea. Also, probably having more than one meeting a week, considering if you're moving into the evening, you're going to have a long, long meeting and not everybody's going to want to stay till midnight. So, and going to every community group out there is one of the things I plan on doing. I plan on not only going to community groups, I also plan on visiting all the schools, as many businesses as I can, to let people know and to hear their words straight up. Let me talk to me, let me know. I'll take notes, I'll take recordings or whatever, and use Facebook, use alternate Zoom and everything else.
Thank you. We'll be moving on to Ben.
Thank you. Three things, just very quickly. One is I started the North Omaha Neighborhood Alliance, and through that Neighborhood Alliance, we provide information. We get information out to the community. That community is shared with the president of the North Omaha Neighborhood Alliance. She shares that with individuals. We also involve ourselves with the Empowerment Network and make sure things that are going on in the city are on the Empowerment Network's website. It's on NONA's website. It's on other people's websites, so we keep people informed. The main thing, though, however, is prior to COVID, I was having town hall meetings at least once a month. I'm hoping after COVID is over that I can go back to having town hall meetings once a month, because that's the best way to gain information, to talk to people after the meetings are over, to gain some insights from them and take some of those ideas. As a matter of fact, with those town hall meetings, a number of things that I have been able to implement have come from those town hall meetings, working with the North Omaha Neighborhood Alliance and the Empowerment Network.
Now we'll be moving on to question number 4. What role should the city take to reduce racial tensions? We will begin this question with, let's see here, David.
Well, if the city wants to reduce racial tensions, first off, get these white cops out of North Omaha. I believe that we need to police our own community. So if we are I believe we need to obviously have cops. I don't believe in defunding the cops. I believe in reallocating some of these funds. But if you want to reduce the racial tensions, we need cops that know and understand the people that reside within that community. So they must live or reside within that district in order to be a part of that district. You got people coming from Millard, you got people come from 120th down into North Omaha that don't understand the people, which creates these racial tensions within our community. Also, there needs to be a federal investigation on the county attorney's office as well.
We'll next move on to Jonathan.
All right, if the city's role in reducing racial tensions has to start at the top. We cannot, as representatives, not back the individuals who are the same as us when they have situations going on. Again, bringing up the situation with Jane Crudo, you cannot pass that off as playing pranks or playing jokes. Even though there's a lawsuit against the city, as the representative or as the council member, you have to be able to stand in that gap and say, we will not allow this. We're not going to have this going on. That's the biggest thing to reducing racial tensions, is being that person that's willing to stand in the gap and say, we're no longer going to take this. We have to consider where we live. We got to consider we're living in Omaha. Will Brown was lynched on the courthouse stairs. We have a system that is set up to see us fail and not to see us move forward. And we have to be able to say, we're the ones that are going to stand up against this. So reducing racial tensions, we have to stand up and say, we're not going to allow this anymore, and we're not going to take it as your city council representatives.
Next, we'll be moving on to Cornelius.
Okay, racial tension is really a big issue, especially because of the fact that a lot of it, not only does it exist here in Omaha, but it exists outside of Omaha. And many people in today's world use the internet and can see all the racial tension throughout the United States. And that comes back even folds down here on how we feel about our own police department, how we feel about different things that happen. So to relieve these racial tension is that one of the things we got to do is we got to educate people. We got to educate them. We got to treat them. We got to remove some of the rules that they follow. And one of the things I have in mind is to take that big area downtown. I don't know what they have planned for it necessarily, but the Civic Auditorium, where it used to be, and build a huge big museum that will house the different types for Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that can show people the difference in our background and how we are in different cultures to help us understand each other a little bit nationally as well, because you can build an auditorium and
Thank you, candidate. We will now be moving on to Ben.
Yeah, the best way for the city to be involved in addressing racial tension is by being intentional itself about diversity and inclusion. And I'm not just talking about police department and fire department, I'm talking about throughout all the departments in city government. And we have to be fair to some of our employees that we have not been fair to. So I think the city needs to, the way the city can handle or deal with racial tension is by being a model for diversity and inclusion within all of its departments within city government. That's the best way to do it. I don't know that the city needs to be a leader in it, but they certainly need to be an example of what diversity and inclusion should look like if we're committed to it, and if we're committed to addressing the problems of racism that continue to exist. Best way to do that, diversity and inclusion, be intentional about it in all city departments.
Thank you. We will now be moving on to Stephen.
Yes, this is a touchy subject. And I believe that cultural competency classes and courses for city employees is very important, especially executive staff members. And I would also look at the hiring criteria to make sure that the hiring criteria is not presenting a racism type of hiring process. Now, what do I mean by that? If you set the criteria where it eliminates individuals that may have a felony conviction that's nonviolent and they're not able to get those jobs, then that's a form of racism or prejudice, because we know that 30% of the traffic stops happen within District 2. And so there's a lot of individuals that have lived experience, that have changed their lives, that will work well in law enforcement and also work well as city employees. So cultural competency training, one of my first things once elected to city council is looking at the hiring criteria.
Now we'll be moving on to the next question. It reads, please explain your thoughts on merging the Omaha City and Douglas County governments. We'll begin with Ben.
Thank you. And I'll be very brief here on this particular issue, because the only reason in my judgment that you would consider merging city and county government was, one, if there were efficiencies that could be made, or two, if there were taxpayer dollars that could be saved. Those would be the only two reasons in my judgment to seek out a merger, because anything else would just be a rearranging furniture. It wouldn't be addressing anything that would create efficiencies or save money.
Thank you. We will now be moving on to Stephen.
Yeah, I would have to agree. My vision for the district is to unify it through program services and job creation. But the only reason why I would see that the Douglas County being merged with the city employees is that there was a bunch of issues going on. But I would kind of like to address I would say this is that we do need to have oversight in certain departments and make sure that things are being ran appropriately, especially the city parks and public works department, because at one point the public works department had over about 150 plus or certain amount of employees, and that number is low right now. So boosting that would be important. But as far as unifying Douglas County and the city government, Omaha's, I don't really see it, being a concern like that.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to David.
I would have to agree with Councilman Gray. As of right now, I really don't see a need to merge the city of Omaha and Douglas County right now, unless it was to somehow save us a ton of money that we would need. But as far as right now, I don't see there really being too much of a benefit, and I wouldn't prioritize that in any way, shape, or form as being on a city council seat.
Thank you. Next, we'll be moving on to Jonathan.
Merging city and county services is always a touchy subject. Again, if we're not saving taxpayer dollars, then there's no reason to really do it. We want to focus on not losing jobs. I think that merging those services would cause a loss of jobs at one of those levels. And we definitely don't want to advocate for that. One thing that I would like to see, though, for the city and county to merge is for a veteran service office at the city level. I know the county takes care of veteran services, but there's nothing at the city level that handles veteran services. I want veterans to understand that they can go to the city or go to the county and put their 214s on file. That way, when we do have these homeless veteran issues, we can go up their records and go see what services they're available to get. Are they available to get home care? Are they available to get health care? Are they available to get access to certain things? So city and county services, I wouldn't agree with merging, but I would like to see an expansion from the Veteran Service Office at Douglas County level, moving on to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, we'll be moving on to Cornelius.
Douglas County is far bigger than Omaha. And there are a lot of other cities in Douglas County. And for us to try to merge just Omaha with Douglas County would be a huge mistake, just simply because the other cities wouldn't like it. And there's a lot of services that they have from the school districts and everything else. I realize that they're not always the same, but that would be a huge mistake as far as bringing in any type of unity. You would even split the city apart more by doing that.
Thank you, candidates. We will now be moving into the closing statements portion of this candidate forum. And to begin, we will ask Cornelius to start off whenever you are ready.
Okay, so let me just say that I enjoyed this forum, opportunity to speak to the community, and I will enjoy very much to be your next city council member and for District 2. I had, well, I was going to read the preamble to the Constitution, primarily because the preamble to the Constitution tells us what our government is supposed to do. And for some reason, it is missing out on protecting the individual and entrusting us with our rights, our abilities to move forward for happiness and prosperity. And that's what I want to do, is I want to improve Omaha's government so that it makes prosperity number one focus for our people.
Thank you. We'll next move on to Ben.
I'm just simply going to say, first of all, thank the League of Women Voters for doing this project. You all have been in existence for a long time and you've been doing great work. Let me just say that I have demonstrated over and over again that I know how to get things done. I've shared that with you earlier in the program, whether it be Ames Plaza, whether it be Baker's Plaza, whether it be Fairdeal Village, whether it be 75 North, whether it be investment in Omaha, whether it be working with young people, all of those things I have been able to do. I'm one of the original founders of the Step Up Summer Jobs program. So there are a variety of things that I have done, and I have demonstrated over and over again that I know how to get things done and will continue to get things done for this city as we move forward. And if I am elected, and I'm asking for your vote on April 6th to make me the city council member that has demonstrated over and over again that I know how to get things done.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Stephen.
Yes, thank you, League of Women Voters. I really appreciate this opportunity. You know, when we talk about a lot of the issues within the district, we can see that the passion resides in all of us. But I do feel that with my experience of being a community health worker, working with the residents of our districts directly, and a day house manager at Sienna Francis House, I worked with the homeless for a very long time to get them services. And also, as a former commissioner with Omaha Housing Authority, affordable housing is one of my top priorities. And just working with the community, allowing the residents to be the voice of part of strategic planning. It shows that I'm committed to the community, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And I'm asking for your support and vote on April 6th, and then moving on to May 11th. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Next, we'll be moving on to Jonathan.
All comes down to it. We have to look at what does District 2 deserve? We have to look at District 2 as deserving higher paying jobs. We have to look at District 2 as deserving investment in community. We have to look at District 2 deserving criminal justice reform. We're focused on prevention instead of punishment when it comes to looking at that. We're focused on bringing those higher paying jobs with low barriers of employment or low barriers of entry. We're looking at bringing jobs here where you don't have to have the degrees. We want to bring jobs here where you can have the criminal background. We want to be able to bring those jobs that you're able to build sustainability within the community without having to overcome all these hurdles that we've had to overcome for all these years. We want to focus on us not having issues based on our zip codes. We deserve the same opportunities in District 2 as the rest of the city already has. That's what I'm focused on bringing as your city council representative. We can't talk about the things that have been done without looking at what more we can do going forward. We have to have intentional investment, and we have to be good stewards of these investments in order to continue to bring the community to where we deserve to be. So as your representative, I want to bring what District 2 deserves. I want to bring us prosperity. Thank you.
Next, we'll be moving on to David.
Thank you, League of Women's voters, for giving us the opportunity to utilize your platform and to use our voices to talk about our campaigns. Well, my main thing that I want to refocus on is economics. I want to go back to economics, dealing with gentrification and actually building up our community. If you've been living in North Omaha for the past 20 years, if you've been living in North Omaha for the past 5 years, ask yourself, have you really seen a economic change within your own community? Have you seen anything actually get better? Do you see more potholes or do you see less potholes driving down Ames? Do you see more jobs or do you see less jobs going up and down Ames Street? So this is what I want to be able to help bring into our community. And also I want to do as Frederick Douglass said. Frederick Douglass said it's better to raise strong children than to repair broken men. Why are we not also worrying about education? Why are we not also worried about trying to make sure our youth know the trade programs, not just going to a program to go learn how to slave for someone else, but learning how to be able to build their own business?
Thank you so much for your closing statements, candidates. Thank you so much for tuning in. This concludes part 2 of our forum for the Omaha City Council District 2 primary election. The League again thanks all of the candidates for participating. For the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Candide Villard, reminding you to inform yourself about the issues and candidates, while also going out to vote on April 6th. Go Vote Omaha.